When I was a nerdy and skinny middle schooler, I held a deep desire to be cool. I decided coolness was a worthy object, as at the time it appeared to be the opposite of nerdiness. Loosely, to me, it meant being charming, stylish, and likable. It meant saying the right thing at the right time. I heard about Walt Frazier, the star point guard of the New York Knicks in the 70s, a man who was reportedly the coolest individual to ever live. Clyde got his name from the Bonnie and Clyde-esque hats he'd wear on his nights out. Thankfully, Clyde wrote a whole book on how he got so cool. Rockin' Steady. I was able to get my hands on the book at a young age, probably reading the fun pages that discussed how Clyde talked to girls, how he was called Superman because of how good he was at weightlifting, and how he was able to catch flies from various positions. Some sections are admittedly just filled with bragging, but are also undeniably smooth and fun to read. Like here he decides to tell us that in a cocktail lounge once a glass slipped and I nabbed it in midair without spilling a drop. I do that a lot with most things that are falling. It's spooky how quick I am. It's just an instinct. It's nothing you can practice. A natural cool. The fact that Clyde appears to possess a sort of coolness that even scares him is just really awesome.
This video is sponsored by Babbel. ¿Quieres aprender un idioma como español? Thankfully, there's Babbel. I've been trying to maintain my Spanish abilities for some time, and I finally found an app that will help me in doing so. Not only is Babbel good for practice, it's also just accessible for people who are still trying to learn the first few words of a language, something I've also been exploring in my quest to learn French. When you sign up for Babbel, you can choose a subscription to just the Babbel app, which lets you learn at your own pace and includes app-based lessons, games, podcasts, and videos. Or, and this is what I love the most, you can also choose Babbel Live, which gives you everything you get in the app, plus live online classes with some amazing language teachers. Why is Babbel Live so great? Well, the fastest way to learn to speak a new language is to actually speak it. Babbel Live gives you a safe, helpful environment where you can practice having conversations with other people while getting feedback from great language teachers. And speaking of teachers, they're all pretty amazing. Smart, highly qualified educators with fun, engaging personalities. Each class is limited to 6 students, so you'll also get the help you need, and there are classes available every day at different times, so you can even choose what works best for your schedule. It's also much cheaper and overall less stressful than going somewhere and taking a live language class. Plus, there's a 20-day money-back guarantee. I personally prefer to go with the fastest route to actually speaking, which is through Babbel Live. It's a bigger investment, but totally worth it in my opinion. But the app is also great as a starting point for learning at your own pace. For a limited time, you can get exclusive discounts on both the Babbel app and Live. Click on the link below to get 40% off your subscription.
Other sections are a relic of his time, admitting under a section titled Food that you can't be fat and cool at the same time. But reading this book again, I noticed there are some very sincere definitions of coolness that almost reveal a sort of philosophy. Take the term rockin' steady. The way my life is now, I'm all rock. I wake up in my penthouse apartment in the morning, and usually I bang on what I call my go-go music, like James Brown, or Shaft, or The Temptations. I'm almost never bored. Someone said that being Clyde is enough for Frazier. Well, I'm happy most of the time. I want to move, like the feel I have when driving a car at 70-80 miles an hour for 100 miles. I'm rockin' steady. The sensation is described as moving very fast while keeping cool, shifting through one's rocky world with nothing more than a steady smile. Cool, I think, is reactions, reflexes, and attitude. You gotta feel out the situation. It's how one reacts to the world, whether it's a bad call by a referee or the annoying buzzing of a fly. It's being prepared for the unpreparable. This is evident in his discussions on coolness as a community defense, especially in the ghettos. Frazier grew up in a poor community and as such had to learn about survival from an early age. This was found in being cool. Cool is a quality admired in the black neighborhoods. Cool is a matter of self-preservation, of survival. It must go back to the slave days, when oftentimes all a black man had to defend himself with was his poise. If you'd show fear or anger, you'd suffer the consequences. Today, the guy respected in the ghetto is the guy who resists the urge to go off, who can handle himself in a crisis, who can talk his way out of a fight. This meant, for example, if police officers were looking for a suspect that they knew in the neighborhood, everyone would remain cool and simply state they didn't see them. This sort of coolness is far from uncaring. Rather, it reflects a certain sensitivity. Frazier offers us the scenario of the kid in the ghetto who sees their best friend's mom meeting men in order to make money. The cool and sensitive thing to do, according to him, is for the kid to ignore the situation and make sure the mom doesn't see him. This demonstrates empathy for his friend and the mother and a mature understanding of the significance of dignity and respect. In fact, coolness extends far past Frazier's definition. Mystic coolness is a 15th century pillar of religious philosophy found in Yoruba and Igbo civilizations of West Africa. It defines a character of gentle demeanor, someone who is generous and capable of diffusing conflict. This coolness is deeper than the use of the word in Western culture. According to the author Robert Thompson, coolness is not only used in times of danger, but also in times of pleasure and tranquility. Struck by the reoccurrence of this vital notion elsewhere in tropical Africa, I have come to term the attitude and aesthetic of the cool, in the sense of a deeply and completely motivated, consciously artistic interweaving of elements serious and pleasurable, of responsibility and play. The idea of being cool extends then to African American culture, especially around the talented saxophonist Lester Young and cool jazz. Young's style worked because he acted neither too proud nor shy, and embarrassed by how he made music. He stayed cool. Cool jazz demonstrates the sort of coolness we know today, and perhaps one that suits Clyde's style. Nonconformism and individuality. It's all about paradox. As Thorsten Botsborstein writes, cool resists linear structures, thus a straightforward, linear search for power is not cool. Constant loss of power is not cool either. Winning is cool, but being ready to do anything to win is not. Coolness is a nonconformist balance that manages to square circles and to personify paradoxes. This has been well known since at least the time of cool jazz. This paradoxical nature has much to do with cool's origins, being the fusion of submission and subversion. There is an indifference to fate in being cool that is similar to stoicism. Indifference is, in a sense, a silent form of rejection. This is evident in Marlene Kim Connor's What is Cool, where she defines it as a rejection of racist oppression and a form of self-dignified expression for those denied expression by other means. African Americans were particularly unable to control their oppression throughout the 50s and 60s, and so another form of control emerged: self-control. This paradox created an aesthetic of alienation, where being an outsider is silently celebratory. Frazier personified this artifact of mystic coolness and, in his own cool way, described it as best he could. Cool is having an attitude, too, of how you carry yourself, especially in pain. That's the time you should really be cool, because if you stay in the game, you don't want the other team to know how hurt you are. We can think of those silently sitting in segregated diners taking such advice, intentionally withholding any expression of pain and outrage to tell the oppressor, "We're still in the game." And then, years later, Frazier's book landed in the hands of a 12-year-old skinny white nerd who wanted to talk to girls. Thanks, Clyde.